you now tell me are the fundamental existential threat.
The Islamist extremists and militants have become the fundamental threat to Pakistan. The Pakistani military leadership has publicly said that. The head of the ISI said that in an interview to Der Spiegel. The Pakistani president and the prime minister have said that. Now, how do we get there?
You know better than I do that in Washington they don't believe the intelligence service, the ISI, has fundamentally shifted its worldview yet.
I think that it's an ongoing discussion. The U.S. intelligence has its reservations about Pakistani intelligence, just as Pakistani intelligence has reservations about U.S. intelligence. Let me just say that in the last 1 year, a lot of things have changed, and in the last few months, a lot more have started changing. But the word of change does not always, having been a journalist, Steve, let me tell you, it was so much easier being the journalist, because all I had to do was comment on things. Now, or just find out what's going on and go by whoever told me whatever was going on. When you're dealing with policy, you realize that there are many, many ends, and you just can't make absolute pronouncements easily. So let me just say that the intelligence cooperation between Pakistan and the United States is much better today than it was a few months ago, and we are on the path where we will have the trust, where you will start hearing Americans say that the Pakistani intelligence service is the first line of defense in the war against terrorism and extremism in our region, and even the Afghan and Pakistani intelligence services and the Indian and Pakistani intelligence services, which have been at loggerheads for many years, are recognizing that Pakistan is now finding the right kind of intelligence and acting upon it.
Well, I'm fascinated by your insight that it's easier to be a journalist than be a diplomat, because I appreciate that sometimes diplomats can't tell the unedited truth. But I'm going to ask you now to tell me the unedited truth. Will you finally come clean as a representative of Pakistan and admit to me that Pakistan, whatever it says in public, has behind the scenes been cooperating for a long time with the United States when it comes to, for example, use of American Predator drones to attack Al-Qaeda, Taliban targets in Pakistan as well as Afghanistan?
Well, all I'm going to say on the Predator drones is that the Predators have eliminated many, many significant Al-Qaeda individuals. And that is not a negative thing. That's a positive thing.
So when you stood up in public and criticized the Americans for doing that, you didn't really mean it. You were doing that just to buy off some of the criticism back home.
We were criticizing the process, not the outcome. Two things are the basis of our criticism. Number one, we do not want civilian casualties. And second, we want Pakistan's sovereignty to be respected. And so there are discussions afoot right now to make sure that the United States does not use this technology, which is a positive technology. It's a technology with possibly good results, that it is not used in a unilateral way. Pakistan
no,
is
but if I may, so you're drawing a very fine distinction here. When you say we don't always like the outcome,
that's what diplomats do, Steve. Fine distinctions is what we live on.
Let's just be realistic here. You know that when Predator drones fire from thousands of feet up in the air, that civilians, as well as quote-unquote the bad guys, are going to get hit. But if we are being honest, you, for a long time, have allowed the United States to use your territory, for example, the Shamsi airfield, which has been widely reported inside Pakistan as being a base for U.S. Predator drones. Will you now at least front up and tell me that that is the truth?
Well, I'll do that when it is appropriate and when it is something that we can do. This is a matter in which we are engaged in a war with a faceless enemy.
But Ambassador, the whole point of this interview is you coming on to Hard Talk and telling me, Stephen, things have changed. Pakistan is now open and honest about the insurgency threat. We are fundamentally, strategically committed to destroying this threat. If you are serious about that, it's time to open up about the nature of the intelligence relationship.
And I'm opening up, but here's my point, Steve. Here's my point. I'm prepared to open up, but do we need to open up about every tactical and technical issue in the first go? I'll be seeing you again, hopefully, and by that time we will have resolved some of these issues and we will have more information to share. Right now, let me just say that on the Predators, the only concern we have that we want to resolve with our American partners is the question of respect for sovereignty and also ensuring minimal civilian damage. Because after all, if there is more civilian damage, then instead of getting the benefit of removing the bad people, we will have some people who will start sympathizing with them. So that is something we are working on. But that said, Pakistan is not is not going to say that we do not want our partners to eliminate Al-Qaeda terrorists on Pakistani soil or on Afghan soil.
Ambassador, I understand that you are treading a fine and delicate line here. I appreciate that, but I am just trying to get to the heart of the matter because, again, you've referred
I'm coming as close to the heart as I can.
And you've referred to the fact that Pakistan is now, you say, a democracy, and there is accountability, and therefore the public need to know what is being done in their name. And there's also another issue here. That is, Barack Obama has just been in Cairo, just delivering a big speech saying he wants a new relationship with the Muslim world. Do you think that your government, cooperating with his government in the use of predator drone attacks on your population, is that helpful to the Americans establishing a new image in the Muslim world?
First of all, the Pakistani government does not cooperate in predator drone attacks on our people. If the predator drone attacks are aimed at terrorists, then those are not our people. If the predator attacks...
Well, I don't think the predator can really tell what passport somebody's got when they're firing from thousands of feet up.
Actually, you'll be surprised. I think you will be surprised, Steve, at what the predator can and cannot do, and I'll stop there.
All right, well, let's get back to that bigger point then about the Obama message and whether it fits with what the Americans are doing both in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Do you think it does?
I think that the United States is also reviewing its policy. Immediately after 9/11, America was enraged, and rightly so. And at that time, basically, they thought that the approach to the problem would have to be military. So they went to war in Afghanistan, they went to war in Iraq. Now, President Obama realizes that winning over the Muslim population to the side of the United States, or at least to the side of the anti-terrorist cause, and at the same time waging an ideological battle against the ideology of Al-Qaeda and Islamist extremism is important, and providing Muslims hope that they can have as good a life as the nations of Europe and the United States is also important. So I hope that we will move in a more hopeful direction, and instead of just focusing on military issues, we will have the United States cooperating in building our economy, building our society. Look, 42% of Pakistan's school-going age children don't go to school. Now, that's not America's fault. That is the result of Pakistan's limitations and Pakistan's mistaken policies. If the United States help us put all these kids into school, certainly a lot less Pakistanis will be resentful of the United States. Same goes for Afghanistan. And I think that is something President Obama has promised. Let us hope he delivers on that promise.
Well, what he wants to deliver is plenty more money. But on Capitol Hill in the Congress, there are many U.S. politicians saying we're not giving Pakistan any more money because we've given them $12 billion already and we've no idea how they've spent it. We're not giving them any more money until we get guarantees about benchmarks, about accountability, about new standards of clean government inside Pakistan. Are you prepared for the Americans essentially to tell you how to clean up your government?
Well, we have been having a discussion with those very congressmen, in fact, and I persuaded several of them yesterday. So the supplemental budget has more than $1.8 billion allocated for Pakistan and has been approved. I think that many of them are, of course, representing their constituents, just as Pakistan's parliamentarians represent theirs. And this is the answer I give them.
Yeah, well, I mean, let me play devil's advocate. Here I am. I'm just quoting the words of Senator Bob Menendez, one of them. You've probably spoken to him. He says, we've already given the Pakistanis these $12 billion. We don't even know where significant amounts of that money went to. He says, in the future...
And I explained to Senator Menendez when I saw him, I spoke to him, and when I saw Senator Corker, who is another critic, here's what I explained to them. I said, look, you had, after 9/11, created a system called the Coalition Support Funds, in which you basically said Pakistan is fighting our war and we will reimburse them for expenses. So what you did was you created a massive expense account, and what you're quibbling over is that in that expense account, the receipts were not properly maintained. That was under an authoritarian government. Now that we have a democracy in Pakistan, you will have questions in Parliament about how money is spent, and you, of course, are welcome to raise questions in yours.
Well, you know, you have a great faith in Parliament, but your president still has a lot of power, and let us be honest with each other. Your president has a perception problem in your own country. I was looking at an opinion poll which suggested that only 19% of Pakistanis give him a favorable rating, and of course, he is known to many still as Mr. 10%, and we all know why. So there's no reason why the Americans should believe if they give you more money, it's necessarily going to be spent in the right way.